Today we are diving into a big batch of Gothic spoilers. I'm a little bit behind. There's been a bunch of spoilers since my part 4 video. I also did that reaction video, but I didn't actually give letter grade. So I'm going to be reviewing all of those as well. So we've got 75 new cards from Sorcery's upcoming set. Gothic is shaping up to be a pretty amazing looking set, so I'm excited to jump into it. All the grading I'm going to be doing is just talking about limited play. If you know me, I only really play draft and sealed. I play a tiny bit of constructed, but there's people who really know the constructed metagame, and they're the people that you should go for that information. All right, so let's jump right into it. Let's talk about ward. If a warded site or unit would be damaged, destroyed, or targeted by a spell or special ability from your opponent, the ward breaks instead. Evil minions, which are demon monsters and undead, can't have wards. That last part of it is going to be really annoying. There's going to be so many judge calls where there's just an evil minion that's had a ward on it for like 2 or 3 turns and no one realized it until it was too late. And that's gonna kind of suck. But anyway, so the actual effect of the card. Oh, and also just to say, like, the fact that it can't go on evil minions is a pretty huge deal. Like, I think like 75% of the spoilers we've seen have been of evil minions. So ward is really going to be for Earth, is what we're going to see very soon. And then let's talk about the actual ability. So if a warded site or unit, so sure, it can go on sites. Mostly you're going to be putting it on your units. If they would be damaged, destroyed, or targeted by a spell or special ability from your opponent, that's how this actually is supposed to read. So if they're damaged, even by your own spells, the ward will break and it'll prevent the damage or from being destroyed. That is a clarification that I got from some people, someone who is in like the design team who I think actually knows the right answered that question. So we do know now that if you poison Nova and you have some minions with ward, the wards will be broken. Your minions will survive the poison Nova. It's not only protecting from damage from your opponent. And then we have the targeted by spells or special abilities from your opponent. So Lord of Itza talked about this. Yeah, there's some like activated abilities on minions that target minions, and that'll be a great way to break ward. Hopefully in limited they didn't put too many of those effects in, and they had ward in mind and didn't just print like another Koi Nixie type card that can just walk around and target things on the board willy-nilly. So I think where this is going to land, I think you need to compare it to stealth and you need to compare it to lance. So I think it's going to be kind of in between the two. So stealth obviously protects your minion from most things. Ward kind of protects it from everything, so it's a little bit more protection than stealth, but it doesn't give the ability of like it can't be blocked or intercepted, that kind of thing. It can still be hit by projectiles, for instance. Like we'll see a 2-mana 2-power unit with ward that could die to firebolts, whereas a stealthed 2-mana 2-power minion wouldn't. So yeah, definitely lots of differences. And then if we compare it to Lance, because this does prevent damage, so you could use it to, for instance, if you had a 2-power minion in front of an enemy's 2-power minion, you could have some effect that gives your thing ward and then attack their 2-power minion, and it kind of acted like a lance in that situation. It doesn't allow your minions to punch up, of course, so it's a little bit worse than lance in that way. But it's a little bit better than lance in another way, which is that your opponent can't steal your lances or knock them out of your hands or things like that. So it is very unique. It's not just stealth with a bit more upside. It's not just lance with a little bit less upside. It's like somewhere in between, and that's really interesting. The part that I'm a little bit skeptical of is the fact that it can't go on evil minions, just because we've seen so many of them. I'm really hoping that that doesn't mean that like ward was made for constructed, and obviously in constructed decks they're just not going to have too many evil minions. Whereas in limited, like maybe half of your minions are going to be evil in the average Earth Fire deck or the average Earth Air deck. So then it's like some of these ward cards just aren't going to be very good. And then it seems like ward is primarily an Earth, and unfortunately, like for undead stuff, it's like okay, we have air, and then we have some Earth cards that care about undead. And then I'm sure like there's going to be some demon synergies and other elements and not just in fire maybe. I don't know if there's going to be ward synergies in other elements really. We did see like one fire minion that had ward. Anyway, I'm kind of worried that basically like you're not going to be building a mono earth deck that cares about wards and has all these ward payoffs. Like you're going to be 2 elements, so then maybe ward is just like a little bit too bad for limited, but obviously it's going to have an impact. It's going to be good when it works. It's just going to be like a bit of a nightmare to make sure that it's not on an evil minion. Anyway, let's get into the cards. So first, I'm going to be talking about all of the like new Earth cards that they talked about Ward in that article, and then from there on, I'm just going alphabetical through all of the new spoilers because that's how I ordered them in order to make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, so first actual card that I'm reviewing is going to be Holy Warrior. So 2 mana, 2 power, 1 Earth Threshold for Holy Warrior. It's an ordinary mortal. It has Ward. So 2 mana, 2 power Ward. I think the card that I think of right away is Shelly Coat, which was 2 mana, 2 power, and then it reduces damage taken by 1. That I think was just much better than this card. I think Shelly Coat was like a B- in my set review. I'm going to give this a C+, which is actually pretty good for a 2 mana, 2 power minion. Like 2 mana, 2 power, no text, or like an ability that hardly ever matters and doesn't really come up. I give that like a C- usually. And if it has like a little bit of upside, then it's a C, and it's like just a playable card that you'll jam in every deck. C+ is like somewhere in between like a kind of busted 2-drop and like just one that you really want to play. So that's where I'm going to be on that. Guardian Angel is 4 mana, 3 power, 2 Earth Threshold. Exceptional Angel, it has Airborne, and Genesis, fly to a weaker allied minion to ward it. So this card is kind of weird. At first glance, it looks really good. Like 3 power in the air is great. We got it for 3 mana in beta with Plume Pegasus. Obviously, it's an Earth, which is kind of weird. There's probably not too many flyers in Earth. But then it has this like ward a weaker minion. It's kind of not as good as it looks, I think. Like putting a ward on a 2 mana minion is just not that impressive, or a 2 power minion. Like those aren't really the minions that you want to be like really sticky and hard to remove. You'd rather just put the ward on itself, of course. Like if this was just 4 mana, 3 power airborne ward, that would be really solid. But this is, I think, significantly worse than that. I'm going to give it a C+. I think you're definitely going to play it still, but it's not as good as it probably looks. It might kind of be downside that you have to actually fly this to a weaker minion. Oh, it's actually not an optional thing at all. Like if you have a weaker minion, I think you have to fly to it and attempt to ward it. I think if something already has a ward, you can't ward it again, similar to how you can't have 2 stealth tokens on the same minion. But yeah, that's where I'm going to be. C+ for now. I'll definitely play it, but not like slamming it or anything. Blessed Village is an ordinary site. It has Earth Threshold and it has Ward. That's pretty cool. So it's just going to prevent a little bit of damage once. So you can kind of see it as like gain 2 or 3 life, I guess. Kind of interesting though. It actually will fizzle spells that target the site. So the obvious one is like lightning bolt, but there are other ones. So I looked, and it's dispel also does that, which doesn't really matter in limited. Minor explosion, incinerate, and I'm sure there's going to be other spells in Gothic. I mean, that's what I really care about is like what spells in Gothic target sites. So I'm assuming there's going to be real reasons why you want to word your sites, but a lot of the time it's just going to save you like 2 life and it'll just be fine. So I give it like a C-. Like I'm not going to take it over like a playable card really, but it's not going to be like a super low pick. Like I'm just going to be happy to have a bunch of these in my deck and just have like a little bit extra life. And it kind of gives them a reason to be like more on one site. If you have like multiple sites with wards on them, they're just going to prefer to be attacking your other sites, which might be good for you. And no one else is talking about this, but this card also has flavor text, which is a huge upside. The only sites with flavor text right now are the duels from beta. So just saying. Night Watchman is 3 mana, 3 power, 1 Earth Threshold for an ordinary mortal. It has Genesis ward this site. So yeah, it makes a thing into a Blessed Village, I guess. Also, Blessed Village has the word village in it, and that just kind of like irks me a little bit. It's like we have 4 different villages, and they all do the same thing, and now we have a 5th village that's just completely different. Anyway, so yeah, 3 mana, 3 power minions are great. It has this slight upside of warding a site. I don't think that's too significant, but it's still a good card. Like I'm gonna give it like a C+. It might even be a B-. Like I think the average 3 mana, 3 power minion is a C+, and that's a pretty decent little bump that you can give to it. There's also things I care about removing wards that we've seen. That might actually be a real synergy that we want to benefit from. So Holy Nova is the next card. This is 4 mana, 2 Earth Threshold. It is an exceptional magic. Deal damage to each enemy at affected locations. You may break an allied ward to center this spell on that location instead of the casters. So it's funny that they call this Holy Nova because we have Poison Nova, but I think this is like significantly worse than Poison Nova. Like it deals damage, it's not lethal, obviously. It's cool that it only hits enemies. Um, and then it has this ward thing where it says allied ward, so it doesn't say like an ally with ward. It says allied ward, so if you have a site with a ward on it, you can remove the ward and then have the Holy Nova be at that location. If you're not doing that though, I think this card's really bad actually, because it has the same like hit boxes as like Ice Lance when you think about it. 3 at your location, 2 in the location in front of you. It's a little bit better. It's definitely better. I mean, Ice Lance only hit one thing at each location. Not that that really comes up too often in limited, but it definitely does sometimes. And then it does hit everything around it. So if they do have 1 power minions, like if you're playing against the undead deck that has a bunch of skeletons, this is gonna be really good. If you have wards, this is gonna be really, really good. I'm giving this a B minus. I think it's very good. But I feel like people are gonna be a little bit too high on this. Maybe it is actually like a C plus, but if you have a bunch of wards, then it's gonna be like a B minus or maybe even better. But we'll have to wait and see. Looks really sweet. A card that does not look really sweet is 1 mana for a 3 power minion, 1 Earth Threshold. It's an ordinary spirit, and it has 0 power unless adjacent to an allied ward. So I guess the joke is that you put a ward on this, and then is a 1 mana 3 power minion with ward. But then as soon as you break the ward, like it's just gonna be a 0 power minion. If you put ward on something else, and then they can remove the ward and then just kill this or not even kill this, like it's literally a frog without submerge at that point. Like that's really bad. So yeah, I think this is like a D. Maybe if you're really going heavy on wards, it's like a C, but like a 3 power minion with no abilities like isn't that impressive. And if you have to do all this build around, I'm just not that into it. Sedge Crab is a good card. I do like it. I think I gave it like a C plus, but this is Sedge Crab, but you have to like do a bunch of steps to get it, and that's just not very good. Because like Sedge Crab probably has more ability to move than this thing is, unless you're giving it the ward, obviously. Next we have Archangel Michael. This is 5 mana for Earth Threshold for a 4 power unique angel. It has Airborne and Ward. And Genesis Michael takes a step, then strikes all enemies at his location. I think because he is airborne, when you take a step, you can move diagonally. Pretty sure that's how that works. Obviously, this card looks insane. Like 5 mana, 4 power airborne. We've seen that be phenomenal. And then it has ward, so it's really sticky. And then it also just like kills 1 or 2 things when it enters. It can deal the death blow if they're close to you. Yeah, this card's just phenomenal. So I'm gonna give it an A. The only caveat is that it is for Earth Threshold. This isn't constructed where you can have all of these dual sites and stuff. You want to have like 7 Earth Threshold in your deck in order to play this. And if you do, you're gonna get paid off really well. All right, and then we're gonna go alphabetical from here. So sorry if the spoilers are kind of weird and out of order from what you're used to, but here's where we are. Okay, so Abyssal Assault is 4 mana, 2 water threshold for an exceptional magic. For each point of its power, an allied monster may deal 1 damage to a unit in a square near it. So there's a bunch of kind of weird stuff with the wording on this. I think that you can break it up, is the thing that I think maybe people don't agree with, but I'm pretty sure you can break this up. It says for each point of its power. So if you have a 4 power minion, you can say 2 power goes this way and kills this thing, 2 power goes this way and kills this thing, or 1 power goes to 4 different skeletons and kills all of them. That's pretty sick. And then, of course, it can go to a near square, which means that it ignores regions, basically. This can go from the void onto the surface or onto the subsurface or from being submerged to the surface or whatever you want to do. So that's really, really cool. And it's near. So nearby, that's really sweet. So I think this is like significantly better than a Shatter Strike, basically. Like you can kill multiple things with it, you can reach different regions with it. And we've seen a bunch of big water monsters that enter submerged. So if you have this, then you can cast something submerged, and the next turn you have to like take that whole turn to unsubmerge it, but then you can still use its power to deal a bunch of damage and kind of stabilize the board, that kind of thing. I think that's what monsters are really trying to do in Gothic from what I'm seeing so far. Monsters are going to be like the mid-range kind of control side of things where they want to just like stabilize the board. And I think this is going to be a really important key piece to that deck. All right, the next card is I Know. 3 mana, 3 power, 2 water threshold for a unique mortal. At the end of your turn, I Know may take a step between the top and bottom edges of the realm to gain stealth. So I'm giving this like a B plus. This card's just kind of insane. So you play it on your avatar, and then you take a step backward onto their side to gain stealth, and then you attack, and then at the end of their turn, it goes back to your side and gain stealth again, and then you can just like attack for 3 with stealth every other turn. And they don't even get the. It's not like Phase Assassin where you like attack onto their site, and then next turn they can just like untap and kill it. It's like it attacks them with stealth, and then that same turn goes back to your side and gains stealth. So this is just like impossible to kill, basically. Like it's just a 3 power clock every turn. Like it's so hard to deal with. Oh, another thing to note about Abyssal Assault, another weird thing, is that it actually gets around stealth because it doesn't target. It doesn't really get around ward though because it's still dealing damage, so the damage will get prevented. But technically, it doesn't like get fizzled from the ward targeting thing. But yes, this is a way to kill. I Know, basically. That's really cool. Just gets around stealth, so Abyssal Assault, really sweet card. Oh, I don't think I actually said a grade, but I'm giving this like a C minus if you have like a third of your minions are monsters, but it's like a B minus if you have 50% or more monsters, I think. Obviously, you just can't really play this if you don't have many monsters, so uh, a true build around card again, and I really like that we're doing build arounds in limited now. Like I missed that so much. Anyway, okay, that's all I have to say about Abyssal Assault. And I Know All Mortals Gone is 3 mana, 2 air threshold for a unique magic. Kill all mortals. I think, people dream of this situation where they have a bunch of mortals and you're in the undead deck. You don't have like hardly any mortals, and you're just using this as like one sided board wipe, which obviously it can do that, but really, like, this is 3 mana to kill all mortals. All they have to have is like one mortal, and this is great. Like, if they just have a 3 mana, 3 power minion, and you cast this and kill it, like, you're just gonna feel okay about that. Like, it's like you cast Barry. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But to note, the mortals all have ward, or like a lot of them do. So a lot of the time, this will just be like 3 mana, like break a ward and kill a thing, or like break 2 wards maybe. That's not going to feel very good. And then also, like, a lot of the mortals that they've spoiled so far aren't very good. So like, I Know, I guess, is the best one, and then there's like Heretics of Seth, which is just like a 3 mana 3 power thing that steals a ward. So there's not really like impressive mortals so far, but I'm sure there's gonna be more spoiled, and this will be a fine card. I don't know if you're gonna play this in every deck though, because sometimes you're just gonna be up against like the monster deck, or like basically any deck that doesn't play Earth, and this is just gonna be bad. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of off of this. But if it kills one thing even, then you're fine. So hard to say. It really depends on obviously the mortal density and if there's just mortals in every single deck. All right, and then we have Archangel Samael, which is the counterpart of Archangel Michael. Very cool that we have a cycle. 5 mana, 4 fire threshold for a 4 power unique angel. It has airborne and ward, and it has a Genesis ability. Players lose 1 life for each evil minion they control or in their cemetery. It's kind of weird. So it's not evil itself. It's in fire though, which is like the demon color. Like if this was just in earth, it would be way better. It's also like really hard to cast. I mean, obviously I love Michael before even the Genesis ability, and I love this the same because it's the same stat line, but yeah, I'm just not really sure about that Genesis. I guess like even if you're at death's door, you can at least still play this because it's just loss of life. It's not damage to your avatar. So it's not ever uncastable. At least that's good. I mean, obviously you need 7 fire threshold, like I talked about with the other card. If you can get there, I mean, it's probably like B, I guess. I mean, it's definitely not as good as Michael. Like he enters and kills things, and this just deals with life points, which you might be trying to like control or stabilize the board, and you really don't want to be losing a bunch of life. So yeah, I'm a little bit low on this. I'll give it like a B minus, and if you can somehow build around this to where your primary element is like deep in fire and you don't have a ton of evil, I feel like that's gonna be really hard to do. And then if you're up against Earth, then this is really not good. So yeah, that's really tough. This might be like a C plus. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how the format checks out, but not super high on this card right now. All right, and then we have Asmodeus. This is 5 mana, 3 fire threshold for a 3 power unique demon with stealth. And it has break stealth, which is an activated ability. I know everyone's kind of talked about it. Some people thought that it was like a triggered ability. I don't think it is either. So you can play this, remove the stealth immediately, and destroy everything else here, including this site. Of course, if you play it on your own site and activate it, you're going to blow up your own site. That's not really the end of the world in limited, especially if you have 5 mana. Like losing a site early in the game sucks, but when you're at 5 or 6 mana and you do this, like it's not the end of the world. So it can stabilize the board pretty well. Like you just kill like the biggest thing that they have on your side. That's cool. You can also just play this like in front of their big minion that's on their side, and then they have to kind of just run away from it. And then if you have some kind of movement effect, then you can just like totally blow them out. I don't know how often that kind of stuff is going to happen. I don't think you're really giving stealth to this a second time in limited. That's really not going to happen. But in like a fire air deck where you get a little bit of extra movement effect, like second wind, and you can play this and then maybe immediately move it onto your enemy's side and then blow this up, blow up their site and their minion. This card's just going to be absolutely nuts. So I'm going to give it like a B and like an A if you're in fire, air, and have some ways to move this onto their site immediately. All right, next is Assimilator Snail. This is 4 mana, 2 water threshold for a 0 power elite monster. Not a great start. Once on your turn, you may banish a dead minion. Assimilator Snail becomes a copy of that minion until your next turn. So you kind of need to play this and just activate it just to make sure it has some power. So they can't just like play a desert or play the flare and just kill it for free. I guess if you're not playing against fire, maybe you can wait, but it's super risky to wait. Banishing stuff from cemeteries, I guess, is upside. You can banish their stuff from their cemetery so they can't do their cemetery synergy stuff. Honestly, like this is never going to be the best thing in play because like they would have to have played a really good minion and then you kill it and then play a simulator snail and then you get to banish their thing, but then it's only for one turn, so that might not even matter that much. So yeah, and then you don't get Genesis abilities. I think like if you copy something with ward, you probably don't get a ward token, right? Because I think ward probably says like it enters with a ward on it. So I don't know how that works, I guess, but yeah, I'm pretty off of this card. I think it's like a D plus. Maybe the format shakes out in a way where banishing stuff matters so much that you want to play Simulator Snail, but or just stuff is just flying into cemeteries all the time, and you're just gonna have so much fodder to feed to this thing. But I just don't really see that happening. So I'm probably just not gonna play this card at the beginning of the format, and if someone proves to me that it's actually worth playing and a good card, then I'll reconsider. But kind of one of those cards. Barrow White is 2 mana, 1 Earth Threshold for a 2 power ordinary undead. It has Burrowing, and it has pay 2 mana, sacrifice a skeleton token, summon this minion from your cemetery to that site. So 2 mana, 2 power Burrowing is a fine card. That's like a C. But the fact that you can upgrade a skeleton token into this, that's pretty sweet. So you could even attack with a skeleton token and then pay the 2 mana to get this, and it'll enter untapped. That's pretty sweet. It's not gonna like ever have charge. It can't ever attack when it enters because it's summoned this minion. But yeah, in the undead deck, I mean, it seems like the undead deck's gonna have like tons of skeletons. So this is an Earth Air card. I don't think you really ever want to play this outside of Earth Air. I guess still 2 mana, 2 power burrowing is fine. I kind of wish it wasn't as fine as that is, because then other people might just pick this up even if they're not in Earth Air. But Earth Air really wants this card. So anyway, it's very good. I think it's like a B minus, honestly. If you are the undead deck and you're doing the thing, this is pretty powerful. Like 2 mana, 2 power. 2 power minions are just good, and skeletons are kind of bad, and upgrading them repeatedly also, like this dies and you just get it back over and over. That's pretty sweet. Talking about dying and coming back over and over, we have Bone Jumble. This is 1 mana for a 1 power minion. It has 1 air threshold, and it's an exceptional undead. It has charge. And pay 1 mana, sacrifice a skeleton token, summon Bone Jumble from your cemetery there. I hate 1 power minions to start. Give me a 1 mana, 1 power minion, and don't even tell me its abilities, and I'll tell you it's like a D. This is the first one that we've seen with charge. So I guess the cool thing you can do is like break a ward with it. That might be okay. It also is summoned, which means that you can attack with this a skeleton token and then sack the skeleton token, get this, and then attack with this. That's kind of the thing that I'm thinking about. And I think that this might actually be an okay card, which is crazy. Like 1 power minions need a lot of help, but charge and a recursion ability, I think might actually be enough to make this a playable card. I'm gonna give it like a C minus still, because you're not really trading up on cards very often with this, but you can just like push a little bit of extra damage every turn. But yeah, that might just not be quite enough. But I'm giving it a C minus, which is like fringe playable. I think if you're really doing the skeleton thing, then you can justify putting 1 or 2, probably 1 bone jumble into your deck. You definitely don't want more than 1 of these. But yeah, it'll just die to a desert and you'll get it back at some point, and maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. If you do just like summon a skeleton token, you can also just sack it immediately and it has charge. You're basically just paying 1 to give something charge all the time. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think slightly playable is my grade. All right, next we have Bound Spirit. This is 4 mana, 4 power, 1 air threshold for an ordinary spirit. It's disabled unless adjacent to an allied spellcaster. So if we have an avatar that's really mobile, then I think Bound Spirit can go into that deck. Outside of that, I think this is really bad. I mean, 4 mana, 4 power is great, but yeah, being disabled unless adjacent to a spellcaster, like I don't know why they didn't just make this nearby. It would still be pretty bad, but at least it could like defend your sights. But this is like literally, it's like 1 step in front of your avatar, and that's it. Like it's like upgrading one of your sites into a troll bridge. It's like Castle Haunt, and that card was complete trash. So yeah, I hate this card. I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe there's one avatar that can actually use it effectively. I kind of hate that this is ordinary. I wish it was like elite and we would just never see it in a pack, but of course we can't really do that for constructed. So I'm gonna give this like a D plus. Fringe playable in a specific avatar. That's about it. All right, Buried Alive, as you might expect, is the new berry. It is 3 mana, 2 Earth Threshold this time. Ordinary magic, may be cast by any ally, burrow target adjacent minion. So yeah, I can't just bury anything on the board anywhere. You have to have something in play. I guess in like Earth Air, it's particularly good because you're gonna have skeletons that are kind of everywhere, hopefully. And you can just bury as if it was actually just bury. Um, Obviously, this is still just premium removal. It's probably like a B or B minus. You're always gonna play it, but yeah, not as good as Barry, obviously. Cemetery Rats is 1 mana, 1 power for an ordinary beast. It's a beast. It is not evil. It has burrowing and Genesis. Discard your top 2 spells. So we do have a way to self-mill in Sorcery finally. That's really exciting. But it's on a 1 power minion. So in limited, if you're not doing anything with your cemetery, then this is complete trash. It's like a D minus. If you have some real synergies with the cemetery and you want to be chucking things in there, still only chucking 2 spells into your cemetery is not that impressive, but maybe you're just really going hard and maybe this gets into the C range. But outside of that particular situation, I don't think you really want to be playing this. But let's see. So there's Second Wind. That's a real kind of synergy, I guess. I mean, not really. Like you're kind of just like getting half of a card out of this card that you don't even want to be playing. So not in love with that. And then a Carrionet, if you're trying to do the actual earth air reanimate thing and you have a bunch of undead and you're trying to just go hard and play a bunch of cemetery rats and mill them into your yard and Carrionet them back into play, you're probably not going to win those games, but you can live the dream, and maybe that's actually a real strategy. Who knows? And then the other one is like Skeleton Mage, is the undead that you can recast in ordinary magic, I think, from any cemetery. So you can enable that card with this. Basically, there's a bunch of fringe ways that make this like just barely maybe playable, but in most decks, I think you should just not consider cemetery rats at all. All right, and then we have Corruptor Freak. This is 3 mana, 3 power, exceptional demon in fire. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to this site. So you're going to play it, you're going to deal 2 to yourself, and then hopefully you're in a position where you can attack your opponent's site and deal 5 damage to them. I don't know if that situation's really going to happen very often, though. Like, you're going to play this, they're going to play a thing in front of it, they're going to want to kill it right away, and they're just going to do that. And if you're behind and you play this, and then they can just be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to attack around this guy and make sure that you can't, like, trade this for my minion, and it'll just be dealing extra damage to you every turn. That's pretty rough. So I'm kind of thinking that fire is going to be the worst element. We'll see. Fire has been the best element in beta and in Arthurian Legends Limited. But a lot of these fire cards are like dealing damage to yourself, and the whole demon thing is like comes at a cost. But if they set the cost of that thing just like a little bit too high, then it's going to feel like fire has to pay extra life for its spells. All of the other elements just don't have to do that. Like, they just kind of get their abilities scot free, and the demons are here, like having this really cool flavor win where you're having to pay a price for demons. But in reality, like, maybe it's just not that good. So in an aggressive deck, when this is just dealing 5 damage, it's going to be incredible, but it's very polarizing. If you're on the defense, this is not the card that you want to be top decking. So we'll see how it goes, but kind of skeptical about fire and the demon synergies. All right, next we have Crawler. This is 3 mana, 3 power, 1 earth threshold. It's an ordinary undead, and it has projectiles fly over Crawler. So slight upside there. I don't know if we've seen like hardly any projectiles. Have we seen any projectiles from this set? I'm not really sure. I can't think of any. But I'm sure there's going to be some, and this will just be slight upside. So I give that like a C+. Oh, by the way, I think I give Corruptor Freak also like a C+. I think it's a fine card, but it's not as busted as maybe it's going to be in Constructed, but we'll see. And then this, I think, is also a C+. It's 3 mana, 3 power, 2 earth for a burrowing Voidwalk exceptional giant. It's not even evil, but I guess you can put wards on it, and that's actually upside that it's earth, and it's not undead or evil. So I guess that's kind of cool, but kind of a weird card. Okay, and then we have Crucifix. This is 3 mana for an elite relic. Genesis, return each evil minion here to its owner's hand. Evil minions can't enter this location. Don't really love it. I mean, Scarecrow sucks. This deals with all kinds of things because it says evil, and like most of the minions in Gothic are going to be evil. But still, you just don't want to be like bouncing your opponent's thing. Yeah, that's just not really an effective way to win a game. So I'll give this an F. You should just not play this card, basically. Defiler Spire is interesting. So this is an air site. It's unique. And sites occupied by evil have, at the end of your turn, you lose 1 life. So you play this, it only sees your sites basically on your turn, because it gives the site the ability. So at the end of that site's controller's turn, they lose a life. You play this hopefully on a turn where you have evil things on your opponent's sites, but then at the end of that turn, your opponent doesn't actually take the damage. It's at the end of the following turn when it's their turn, and the end of their turn they lose a life. So that gives them a lot of agency. Like, you play this, you have evil on their side. If you have evil on your side, you take the damage immediately. They take no damage. Okay, and then they untap. They have the ability to kill your evil minions that are on their side, and then just like leave your evil minions on the opponent's side. So then, I don't know, I feel like it just gives a lot of agency to the opponent. I'm not really a big fan of that. Also, like, it's evil, it's not undead. I don't know. I think you just have to be really aggressive and maybe you can play this card. So I'm going to take it kind of low in a draft probably, but maybe in if it's like pack 3 and you're in a really aggressive heavy evil deck, like a bunch of 1, 2, 3 mana evil minions, then you probably should be taking this pretty high. But outside of that scenario, I think Defiler Spire might just be like not a great card, honestly. So really depends on the deck, but somewhere between C and B probably. But actually, maybe somewhere between like D and B, because yeah, like I mean, if you're like Earth Air, yeah, I guess this is really for like Earth Fire or Earth Water, which has like all evil minions. If it's Earth Air or if it's Earth Air, yeah, then you're gonna have like only a third or 50% of your minions are gonna be evil. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Somewhere between D and B, basically, depending on what your deck looks like. But this is a symmetrical effect. You should not be in love with symmetrical effects like this, in my opinion, in limited. All right, next we have Demonic Contract. This is 2 mana, 2 fire threshold for an elite magic. Sign here, and that has a space for your name, which I love. Search your spellbook for any card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Wow, what an incredible card. Um, oh, but you may only search for a spell that has rarity lower or equal to a demon minion that you control. As an additional cost to cast Demonic Contract, you must pay for life or reach another accord with said demon by sacrificing a coin, egg, frog, deep, gem, goat, rune, treasure, or mortal soul. So, yeah, huge downside. Obviously, it's fire, so you're going to have some demons. But if you have an ordinary demon in play, then this is a common sense that costs an additional threshold, and you have to like pay for life or sacrifice something on board. That's just pretty terrible. So it's terrible if you have an ordinary mortal and you can't rely on having elite or unique or even an exceptional mortal like more than 15% of the time or something. Like, yeah, this card's complete trash. I don't think you can play this in limited at all. I'll give this an F. All right, Desecrate is next. This is 2 mana, 2 air threshold for an exceptional magic. An evil ally strikes its site, then may transform it into a desecrated ground from your collection. So let's look at desecrated ground. So this is an exceptional site with an air threshold, and evil units here have +1 power. That's exactly what I expected when I read desecrate. It's the opposite of consecrated ground. I didn't know what element it was going to be, but it makes sense that it's an air, but it pumps your evil minion. So you really do want this to be on your opponent's side. So I guess we should talk about the site first. So I think you should just not put this card in your atlas. Like this card makes no sense. Um, like it's symmetrical. If your opponent gets their minion on your site, then they're going to be dealing an extra damage to your site. And if it's your minion versus their minion, like they both get +1 power, so that's not a benefit to you at all. I guess if you happen to be playing against like a heavy earth deck that doesn't have much evil, then sure, this is fine, I guess. But like they know what they're attacking into when they do this, so then it's like they're just not going to attack into your into your desecrated ground. So this is just setting yourself up to take extra damage. Basically, that's the only thing that this does is allow your opponent to attack your site for extra damage because like you can't like sure if you have a ranged thing, okay, whatever. That doesn't really come up ever though. Like ranged units, they don't just put a unit in front of your ranged unit. So with ranged units, usually you have to use like second wind or blink or whatever to move your ranged unit to a position where it can actually attack. So then they're just going to move off of the desecrated ground anyway. So yeah, there's really no use case, I think, for desecrated ground. It makes no sense to put in your atlas. So I love that desecrate exists, basically. All right, so they're both exceptional. So, okay, take the collection part of this out. It's 2 mana, an evil ally strikes its site. That's it. Um, that's pretty bad. Like, 2 mana, my thing deals some damage to you. Like, we don't ever lightning bolt your opponent's face. Like that's just not the way to win a game. Like unless it's literally the death blow. And this doesn't ever deal the death blow. So this is literally just like I'm trying to door you really fast, which might actually be a strategy that makes sense. Like I think that the undead deck might be like the most aggressive, or I guess maybe like the air fire deck is probably where this is supposed to belong. That's probably like the most aggressive two elements in Gothic. So in air fire, I guess I could maybe see this. That is a deck that's going to have like a lot of evil minions, but then you're just dealing damage to face. So I think you absolutely need to have this site to play Desecrate. Like I really don't want this card in my deck outside of this exact situation. So I think you need to draft Desecrate probably first, unless you just get Desecrated Ground really late. I'm expecting people to see +1 power to evil minions, and they're just going to put this in their deck. And if you're watching this, then you should know that you should not do that. But this card is going to get taken at some point, but hopefully people wise up and they realize that they shouldn't be putting this in their atlas, and then you'll be able to just pick it up kind of free really late, and then if you open a Desecrate, then maybe you can actually play this card. You want to be really aggressive, like you probably want to be fire air, and hopefully you're not playing against air, but even if you are, like half of their sites aren't air, so then what you can do with this is have like a 3 or 4 power evil minion on their site, on their like earth site, let's say, and then you cast Desecrate, deal a bunch of extra damage to them, transform it into Desecrated Ground. Now your evil minions have +1 power on their side of the board, so you can deal even more extra damage to that site. So then hopefully you have just like another attack immediately, and you can just deal tons and tons of extra damage with Desecrate. That's the use case. Like it's just a damage card basically, but also it has this slight thing where it can screw them on threshold. That will come up. Like if they just have like 2 earth sites, 2 air sites, and a water site, and you can tell like, oh, they're splashing water. It must be for something really good, probably. Then maybe like target their splash element. Or yeah, if they are like struggling to get their 2 earth and then they finally get it, and then you can like Desecrate, blow up your earth site. I mean, not blow up, but like they get this air site instead, then yeah, just kind of like screws them on threshold. That's pretty cool. I like that part of the card. But it's kind of like a slight upside that you're not really playing the card to do that, but it is definitely an upside. So I think that Desecrate is like a C if you have Desecrated Ground. And Desecrated Ground is a card you should not pick highly at all. I think if you get a Desecrate really late, then maybe you can take a Desecrated Ground like midway through the pack if you are that aggressive deck. But outside of that, I think you should just kind of stay away from this effect. All right, and then we are Desecrating from a Kite. This is 1 mana, 1 power, 1 air threshold, an ordinary monster. So it's a monster in air, which is kind of weird. It has airborne, and at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to this site. I guess this is like a 1 mana, 2 power airborne minion, but it still dies to deserts and stuff. Yeah, not a fan of 1 mana, 1 power. I'm just gonna give this like a D. Not really a fan. Draconian Bone Kites. This is 7 mana, 7 power, 3 air threshold for a unique undead dragon. It has airborne and it has tap. Deal 3 damage to each other unit at target location nearby. This targets a location. So I guess that's another thing that site with ward, it will actually protect against this kind of thing. But anyway, if you kill anything there, you summon a skeleton token for each unit that died. But most of the time, this is just 7 mana, 7 power, airborne. That's just phenomenal. I mean, 7 mana is a lot to get to, but you will eventually get there and it'll just dominate the board basically. Like if they don't have exactly buried alive, they're just gonna lose. So I give this like an A minus. Huge airborne minions are really good. Like they're just great at stabilizing. They're great at getting aggressive. Yeah, we love those. And then to note, this could actually be downside that it's undead. If they have some kind of removal that only targets undead minions or does extra damage like Day of Judgment, where it banishes evil, it could be slight actual downside that this is evil. But to note, this is really good with Carrionet. So if you have this and you've carrying it, like you don't have to be like discarding this and reanimating it or anything, but if you play this and then they kill it and then you can carry net it back and then play something else, you definitely are gonna win that game. Like, yeah. So watch out for that. All right, this is Dreadwing. It is 5 mana for a 4 power airborne ordinary undead in air. It has Genesis, strike your avatar unless you discard a card. I guess if your avatar is warded, you don't have to take the damage. That's kind of cool. We haven't actually seen a way to ward your avatar yet, but it says unit, so maybe you can actually ward your avatar, and that's kind of a combo with this, but assuming you don't have that, and you don't really want to be discarding cards, like 2 for 1ing yourself in limited, not a good idea. I don't know if you have carry net or something, but if you have 5 mana, you probably just want to hold on to whatever you were going to reanimate and just cast it. So most likely you're just going to be taking damage. You can discard a sight to this, I suppose. I guess that's fine. So like whenever you get to 5 mana, probably don't play this and then wait a turn and then draw a sight and then play this, discard the sight. That's not that bad. But yeah, I mean, 5 mana, 4 power airborne is really good. It is a demon. So maybe this is like a fire air card. That is probably the way that this is going, because maybe fire air, because it's so aggressive, doesn't care about taking 4 damage. And you can kind of just get away with this. But that would mean there's another demon that's like dealing damage to yourself. So that's pretty sketchy. I don't know. I'd still give it like a C. I think this is actually kind of a fine card. Like if you just discard a sight to it, it's kind of a 2 for 1, but it's really like a 1.5 for 1, I would say. Yeah, the more aggressive you are, the better this card's gonna be. But I think it's like kind of playable. But outside of like the really aggressive decks, I think this is like a D. Like if you're like water, air, you probably just don't want this card. Drowned is 2 mana, 1 water threshold for a 3 power ordinary undead. It has submerge. It must be cast submerged. I'm not really sure what to think of these. There's one in water, one in earth. Historically, like the water ones are always worse because they're just more restrictive. Like maybe you're playing 3 elements and only one of them is water, but 2 of them are land sites, so then the earth one's just gonna be able to go more places. So this one, I don't know. I still think like 2 mana, 3 power is gonna be okay. It's water and it's undead though. That's kind of weird. That's not the 2 elements that we care about this. And then water also yeah. Water also has like a bunch of monsters that enter submerged. So this might just be like another card that you're like, oh my gosh, I have like 5 minions that enter submerged. Like that is gonna really suck. Like how is water gonna be able to stabilize when half of their minions enter submerged? So yeah, maybe this card is not very good. I'm gonna give it a C to start out with. Like I'm really interested in 2 mana, 3 power, but yeah, it's gonna be really slow. The tempo is gonna be off, and against like fire air demons, it's gonna be really important to have blockers, and this just doesn't really do that. But I guess on turn 2, like this does block well because they can't really attack your other site. It's like kind of only really good on turn 2 though. I'll give it a C, but it's probably trending down to like C minus. But I am also hopeful that Gothic is going to be a lot slower. Like Arthurian Legends was super fast, so people are kind of used to that now. I'm really hoping that like Undead and Monsters are the really good decks, and we'll have these like synergy piles that really deal well with like the demon aggro strategy, that kind of thing, and maybe this will fit into that. It'll just be like a good defensive card. All right, next we have Elder Ruins. This is an elite site. It's water, and you can sacrifice a minion here to cast a Shogoth Submerged here from your collection. So Shogoth is, I believe, 6 mana, 2 water threshold for a 5 power ordinary monster with Submerge. I think that's right. So, oh, and I think it also has Void Walk, maybe. So it's a 6 mana, 5 power minion. Okay, so it has to enter Submerge if you cast it this way. And you have to sacrifice a minion here to do it. So I think the minion can be on top or below the site. That doesn't really matter that much, but obviously you want to be sacrificing like a skeleton or a frog to this. But honestly, sacrificing a real minion to this isn't that bad. Like, you can just randomly upgrade one of your minions into a 5 power minion for 6 mana and like no cards in hand. Like, that's pretty legit. And, it's an ordinary, so you should be able to pick one up. And it's not like you really want a ton of 6 mana 5 power minions in your deck. So you might just be happy to put one of those in your collection. If you pick up one of these Elder Ruins, then you're kind of in. And if you have multiple Shogoths in your collection, you can do this multiple times. Like, this isn't a Genesis effect or anything, it's an activated ability. So, yeah, honestly, I think this is pretty sweet. I mean, it sucks that it enters submerged, but if you're doing this, presumably you have the time to do it. Like, you're paying 6 mana and sacrificing a minion to upgrade it. Um, yeah, that's really powerful. Like, I'm kind of into this card. Like, if I get one of these, like, I feel like people probably won't take it that high. Maybe you can get it like mid pack, and then you can just keep an eye out for some Shogoths and have like 2 or 3 Shogoths in your collection, and that's pretty powerful. So I like this card a lot. I'm gonna give it like a C plus. If you have multiple Shogoths, then it might be like a B. Like, this might just be your win condition. Oh, here is the Shogoth. Yep, I was right. So 6 mana, 5 power, submerge, voidwalk, ordinary monster. Very cool. All right, and then Entombed is 2 mana, 3 power. It's burrowed. It must be cast burrowed. I'm gonna give this a C, and we'll kind of see how it shakes out. Fields of Fixus is an air site. It's exceptional, and it says the site directly in front is silenced. In limited, we don't really see that many like problematic sites that you really would want to be silencing, or like need to be silencing, I should say. So this is pretty niche. I would give this like a C minus. I'm not going to take this over any real castable minions or magics, but if you get one kind of late in a pack, I guess you'll take it and play it, and like, there's not going to be really much downside to this card. All right, Flaming Skull is 2 mana, 2 power, and fire. It's an ordinary undead, and it has airborne and fire spellcaster. So basically, 2 mana, 2 power, airborne. It's undead and fire, so that's not really great. But that's a fine stat line. So I'll give this like a C plus. I think it's pretty decent. I mean, 2 mana, 2 power, airborne's fine. Fire spellcaster will come up sometimes, and it'll be great. All right, and then we have Flare. This card I kind of hated when I saw. This is 4 mana, 2 power threshold for a 3 power ordinary demon, and has Genesis, deal 1 damage to each other nearby unit. So I guess to start, like, it does deal damage to yourself. Like, most of the time you're going to be dealing 1 to your avatar. Like, that's not a huge downside or anything. I mean, 4 mana, 3 power isn't great. Like, historically, we just don't really play those very often in limited, but some of them end up being playable. Like the Undead Knight is definitely going to be a playable 4 mana, 3 power minion. But honestly, that Genesis is so brutal. Like, just deal 1 to everything nearby. It just like allows your stuff to trade up. It kills all skeletons. So this is really like an undead hate card, and I think it's just gonna get played. Like, I think this is a good card in limited. It's pretty legit, and I kind of hate that it exists because I kind of want 1 power minions to be good, and I want undead to be good specifically. Again, this is kind of a huge set, so maybe you're not going to see flares like every time you're playing against fire, but you're going to see it like a decent amount of the time. So watch out for this, and I'll give flare a C plus. All right, next is Frozen Horror. This is 5 mana, 3 power, 2 water threshold for an exceptional undead. Undead and water. Stealth. Break stealth. Disable other nearby minions until your next turn. So it disables your minions and their minions, but it does not disable itself. So you can play this and crack it immediately and disable their stuff. So it's like a Frost Nova attached to a minion. That's not like incredible or anything, but you can also, like, I guess if this is in range of their minion and then you have a minion next to it that's out of range, so you can play this like 1 step to the side basically, and then activate this and disable their thing, but leave your thing not disabled, and then you can like attack and kill it. So it's kind of like a weird combat trick attached to this. You can also just play this, pass the turn. When it comes back to you, break stealth, disable everything, and then attack with it. But they're going to see that coming, so that's going to be kind of tough. I think the most value you're going to get out of this is playing it, activating it immediately, and trying to kill their thing. And yeah, that might just be kind of hard to line up. Um, and water is like the monster element, and it really wants, I think it's like 5, 6, and 7 mana things to have like a lot of power and the ability to stabilize the board. I guess this does like get you some tempo back. So maybe this is an important part of like stabilizing the board. We'll see. I'm gonna give it a C for now. Yeah, interesting tempo play, but I think you would rather just play like a 5 mana 5 power minion or a 6 mana 5 power minion or something else in this slot. All right, next we have Gnarled Wendigo. This is 6 mana 5 power, 1 water threshold for an exceptional monster. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each minion you sacrifice at its summoning location. Yeah, so I guess if you're water, air, and you have skeletons, you can sack them to get this down a little bit early. I mean, if you get it for 4 mana, that's pretty powerful. So I'm already kind of into that. And then it's not that bad to just play a 6 mana 5 power minion. So I think this is pretty awesome. So I'm going to give this a B. I think you will play it for 4 mana a decent amount of the time. I don't think you'll ever play it for less than 4 mana, but I guess it's possible. Yeah, I guess like Gift of the Frog with this is pretty cool. That's the water magic that summons a frog to one of your allied minions, and then you can sacrifice it to pay for this. And that spell actually costs 2, so it's kind of like you're casting Gift of the Frog for free to draw a card. Anyway, yeah, I think this is like a B. I think you're gonna play this all the time, and it'll be a good way to stabilize the board in some instances. All right, so we've got Gravedigger next. This is 2 mana, 2 power in Earth. It's an exceptional mortal, and it has Genesis Burrow target adjacent undead. Really unfortunate. This card does not say May on it, so you cannot play this adjacent to your own undead minions. You will kill your own minion if you do that. But of course, you kind of want to just hold this in hand until they play an undead close to you. But again, like it only really hits air. Like there's a couple undead and other elements. We'll see. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 really good undead in every element, and then you can just play this all the time. I'm gonna start out just jamming this in every deck, and I'm kind of thinking undead hopefully is like one of the best. I mean, it definitely seems like the most supported minion type, and it might be one of the best decks, which means that you want to be teched against the best deck, and this is just gonna be great. I mean, 2 mana 2 power is gonna be fine if you're not against the undead deck, but if you are, then you can just hold this in hand and kill some huge thing with it. That's gonna be sweet. So I'm gonna give this a B to start. I'm gonna take it decently high and hope to be playing against some undead. All right, next is Grief Larvae. This is 1 mana, 1 power, and fire. It's an ordinary monster, so monster that's fire. Again, kind of weird. It has burrowing, and it has at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to this site. So again, you're probably going to take 1 damage, and then you're going to move it under your opponent's site, and they're just going to take 1 damage every turn. The kind of crappy thing about this is that if they just burrow a minion on top of it, or like yeah, they like you're gonna burrow this, put it under their site, and then they play a root spider or something under that site, and it's like, okay, your grief larva just can't really run away from that. So I think this is just gonna die for no good reason a lot of the time. I'm gonna give it like a C minus. Like it is gonna be kind of hard to deal with from some decks, I guess. But yeah, I would rather just have anything that has more power than this in my deck. Like I don't know. But yeah, the airfire is looking like it's probably like the super aggressive deck that doesn't care about its own life total, that kind of thing. But I'm just a little bit skeptical about 1 power minions to begin with. I don't think this one really makes the cut. All right, next we have Haystack. This is an exceptional site. It's Earth. Opponent's deck searches are limited to the top 3 cards. So I think the only search effect that we've seen is Demonic Contract, which I think is a card that sucks. People just don't really search their deck very often. So yeah, you just don't really need this effect. I guess it's like a D plus or a C minus. But yeah, if there's some like really ordinary spell that searches your deck, then maybe you want this at like a C minus. But it just basically is never going to do anything, so you should just not take it over a real spell. All right, next we have Harkening Kraken. This is 6 mana, 5 power, double water again. And Exceptional Monster Submerge. Must be cast submerged and costs 1 less for each enemy in its body of water. So you kind of have no control over if they have things in your body of water. So you should kind of just count this as a 6 mana, 5 power minion. And it has to be cast submerged again. Yeah, that's gonna be just pretty tough. I It's still a lot of power though. Yeah, and sometimes it will be 4 or 5 mana, and I guess specifically in instances where you're behind and you want the mana discount and you do get it in those instances, so that's kind of cool. So I think it's playable. It's like a C plus. I'm not gonna slam it, but it's a fine monster, I guess. All right, next we have Heretics of Seth. This is 3 mana, 3 power, 1 water threshold. It's an exceptional mortal, and it has Genesis steal a nearby ward. And of course, it has to be immortal because it steals the ward, it puts it on itself, and if it was evil, it wouldn't be able to have that ward. So that makes a lot of sense. Pretty sweet card. I'm not really sure where you're supposed to be putting this. I mean, it's 3 mana, 3 power, so I guess you put it in anything. So I guess that's already like a C plus is usually where I put 3 mana, 3 power minions with 1 threshold. That's cool. And then every once in a while, you just have this huge upside of stealing a ward. Like they lose a ward and you gain a ward. Like that's significant value that you're getting, and it's nearby. So yeah, that is pretty sweet. So yeah, I'll give it like a B minus just because sometimes you have that huge upside. And it's gonna feel kind of bonkers when you actually pull off the thing and do it. All right, I've been questioning whether or not I should review this card because it's not an official spoiler and it's just like a screenshot of like the trailer or something in the background or whatever, but I'll do it, I guess, because other people are doing it. This is Key to the City. It's 1 mana. It's a unique relic. It provides 1 mana, and then the bear ignores sight abilities, I think is what people are saying it does. Um, this doesn't do anything, basically. If there's a deck that needs a ton of mana, then maybe, but I think even then you should just not play this card. So it's like a D to F. Just ignore this, basically. All right, Lacuna Entity is next. This is 5 mana, 4 power for a elite monster. It has 3 water threshold. It has Submerge and Void Walk. And Genesis, drag target weaker minion from an adjacent site to here, ignoring regions. A lot of weird stuff with that Genesis ability. So you can only target a weaker minion, so 3 or less power. There's a lot of those in limited. So you're going to have a target for this a lot of the time. You can cast this pretty much anywhere on your site or in the void, so that's pretty sweet. And then you're dragging their minion onto your, I guess, to your location, right? It has to be on a site, so I guess you can't drag something from the void to his location. That's not really going to be very relevant anyway. So, yeah, so you can play this in the void and then drag any 1, 2, or 3 power minion into the void and banish it, unless it has void walk. And then you can also play this submerged and drag something underwater and drown it. That's really cool. So this is just gonna be 5 mana, 4 power, kill something like all the time. So that's super good. I mean, it's gonna be best when you're dragging something into the void because then you're gonna be adjacent to your opponent's site most likely. So then you're not even really playing this in a disadvantaged position. You can just play this pretty much where you want to play it and just banish something. And the banish might be really relevant. So yeah, this is an incredible card. I'm gonna give this a B plus. This is kind of a bomb. Just 5 mana, 4 power, kill something. I mean, it can't kill like huge things, but it's still gonna be super powerful. So love a nice clean 2 for 1. Uh, this is Lesser Blood Demon. This is 2 mana, 3 power, and fire, and it has a fire pip, so that means that it has to deal damage to yourself. It's an ordinary demon, and it has Genesis lose 2 life. So yeah, this is just worse than Boss Troll, unless we have some synergy that cares about losing life, but I guess there probably will be something where like if you have less life, like um what is it? I guess like White Knight was that in Arthurian Legends. So there might be a White Knight like ability in Gothic. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think you're like chomping at the bit to deal 2 damage to yourself. I'm not really sure. I think this is still going to be pretty good. Like 2 mana, 3 power is just a real threat. So I'm gonna give this a C plus. I think you're just gonna play this probably, and hopefully you're in the demon aggro deck, and you really don't care about that 2 life. But if you do, it's really gonna suck. So again, you're not gonna like deal the death blow to yourself with this, but you might door yourself with it. This is another card that like yeah, I think fire might be the worst element. So I'm gonna rank them right now based on the spoilers that we've seen. I'm gonna keep going through the spoilers, but From right now, I'm gonna say that I'm hoping that air is the best. Air has been like the most middle element in beta and Arthurian Legends. It's been playable in both, but not the best or worst. So I think air is gonna finally have its day. It's gonna be the best. And then I will put water and earth kind of in the middle next to that, and then I'll have fire at the bottom. Um, I just think hopefully the other decks are just going to have ways to like slow the game down and stabilize, and then these fire cards are all just going to be like dealing damage to yourself and not really getting that much benefit out of it. So I'm kind of hopeful that fire isn't the best element 3 sets in a row. That would be not a great look, I think. Okay, next card is Mizuj Ifrit. This is 3 mana, 2 power threshold for a 4 power elite demon. It has airborne, and at the start of your turn, you lose 2 life. This one is just like super powerful, I think. Like, it's at the start of your turn, so if you play this and they untap and kill it, then that's fine. Um, and yeah, if they don't kill it, then you're gonna attack them for 4 and you're gonna take 2, which is also kind of fine. And or you might just be killing their minions with it. I mean, it blocks super well, it attacks super well, it's really aggressively costed, so I think this is gonna be good and constructed, and it's gonna be great and limited too. Like I like 5 mana 4 power airborne kind of a lot. So 3 mana 4 power airborne, pretty busted. So I'm gonna give this a B. I think it's just gonna fit into any aggressive strategy basically, or even a defensive strategy, I guess. Like you just want a big minion to be able to defend your sites. All right, this one is Molten Mar. It's an exceptional site. It's fire, and it has, if you have 2 fire when you play this, so you need to have 1 other fire threshold, and then this is your second. Genesis, you may cast a Hellhounds from your collection to this site. We saw this in air already. You need 2 air thresholds, and then you can cast the undead version of this. So the Hellhounds is the 3 mana, 3 power demon in fire. The only question is, what are you putting in your deck instead of the Hellhounds? Because I like Hellhounds. Like 3 mana, 3 power demon in fire is just going to be a good card. So if you have room to put something else in your deck that's like a C or C minus, then I think this is going to be worth playing. And I like this a lot. I mean, a site that draws a 3 power minion is super powerful. Like if you just play this on turn 3 and cast a spell, not from your hand, that's super good. So I'm gonna give this like a B. Like card advantage is everything, and a real card like a 3 power minion is kind of on another level. So super cool site. I love this. I'm gonna take it pretty early, and then I'm gonna make sure I get a Hellhounds to put in my collection. All right, next is Monster Morphosis. This is 3 mana, 2 water threshold for an exceptional magic. Disable target nearby minion until your next turn. At the start of that turn, you may transform it into a monster from your hand or a horrible hybrids from your collection. I think you need to have big monsters that you want to transform your own stuff into in order to play this card. Obviously, you're not just transforming your minions into horrible hybrids, because if that's the case, you would just rather this be a horrible hybrid, and you would just not put the monster morphosis in your deck, and you wouldn't put the horrible hybrid in your collection. You would just play the card. Like the upside of sometimes you get to disable your opponent's minion and kill it, I don't think is that high that you would go through all of that effort. And even if you're cheating out a huge monster, we haven't seen that be like a really effective strategy. Like it's a good strategy in cube, but in regular limited, like they're just going to have some answer probably to your big monster, and getting it out early isn't going to be the best thing to do. Like you're still 2 for 1ing yourself when you do this. Like you're spending the minion on board plus this card plus the other card in your hand to get 1 minion into play. So you're kind of like 3 for 1ing yourself. That's just not great. And they can also just, you play, you have your minion, you disable it, and then you have to wait until your next turn. So they could just like use a movement spell, I kill your thing, or like use a burn spell and kill your thing before it even transforms. And it's just like, you just got 2 for 1 right there. So yeah, I really don't like this card at all. I think it's like a D. And if you're really doing the monster thing, like say that there's just like a 10 mana monster that you could just basically never cast in water in Gothic that at like unique or something, then maybe you could play this card. I mean, you don't really want a 10 mana card in your deck, but I don't know. I'm trying to come up with some situation where you would want to play this. There's probably some very specific deck that can play this and it'll be like a B. But I really wish that like the monster would come from your collection, not just the horrible hybrid. Then it would be a real card, but it has to come from your hand. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of off of this card. I'm kind of sad about it because it looks pretty cool. It's got great flavor and everything, but I don't think it's really going to be very good in limited. All right, Mudslide is an exceptional site. It's water. Genesis, slide all units at land sites in this column one step left or right. So I think you choose left or right, and then everything goes that direction. And it's in a column, so it's up and down, and then it only looks at land sites. That's very important. So if your opponent's playing water, then you're not going to have that much ability to choose things to move. I don't know. And then also, like, timing on this is weird because, like, it has to be up and down. So it's like, you can't really play it on one of your first two sites. So then the middle column is just out. And then it's like, okay, you build like the T, and then you've got two slots under it that you could potentially play Mudslide to push things like into the middle, maybe. Um, it's just kind of strange. So I don't know. I mean, free movement is good. So I'm probably gonna take this at like a C level still. Like it might be better than like some kind of crappy spells, but it's not gonna be that much better than that. I'm gonna take it at like a C level. Free movement is good, but it's pretty narrow. All right, and then we have Necronomic Concert. 5 mana, 2 air threshold for an elite magic. Each differently named undead and instrument nearby joins the band to play a draw spell for each. It's differently named undead, so skeleton is a name, and then any other undead that might be around. Um, so you kind of gotta step through this. So the set is really big, which actually helps this card. That means that you're gonna have less duplicates, which means this might just be 5 mana draw spell for every undead you control. I think it has to be at least 5 mana draw 2 cards, and that's kind of bad. If it's 5 mana draw 3 cards, um, that's good. That's quite good, I think. Especially if I'm right about the set and maybe like water air or like earth air is like a very synergy kind of grindy mid-range, almost bordering on control kind of deck. I mean, I think there might be like an aggressive undead deck and a mid-range control-y undead deck, both in earth and air, is kind of what I'm hoping for. So in the really slow version of undead, maybe, but you also have to read the card carefully. So one upside to how it reads is that it doesn't say allied. It just says undead and instruments. So if your opponent happens to have some undead or instruments, I mean, it's pretty unlikely they're going to have instruments, but maybe, you actually draw a card off of your opponent's undead minions. So that's pretty sweet. They still have to have different names than your own minions, but pretty cool. But the very severe downside that I think makes this card pretty unplayable is that it says nearby. Like, it's not just undead and instruments in play. It's like they have to be nearby the spellcaster, and that's just super narrow. So I think this is like a D, maybe like a D plus if you're super heavy in earth and air, but I just don't really see it honestly. All right, next we have Noisome Twosome. This is 2 mana, 1 earth threshold for a 2 power ordinary undead. It has Deathrite. Summon a skeleton token here. So 2 mana, 2 power dies, gets a skeleton token. That's really cool. It does say here, so whatever location it dies in. So if it gets buried by Gravedigger, then it doesn't actually make the skeleton. But in most other instances, it's 2 mana, 2 power, make a 1 power dude when it dies. That's pretty decent. I think that might bump it up to, maybe it's just like a C plus. Um, I don't know how effective the 1 power minions are going to be, but I think in the undead deck that has the undead knight that pumps undead minions, like, this is going to be even better than that. It's going to be like a B minus probably. Like, just always having undead on board is going to be pretty important for that deck. So pretty happy to see this. Next we have Noxious Corpse. This is 2 mana, 1 fire threshold for a 2 power ordinary undead. with lethal. This is undead instead of a demon, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. It's just a good card. So 2 mana, 2 power lethal is great, and you're gonna play it. I'll give it a B minus even. Like this trades up really well, and it's just always pretty threatening to have a lethal unit on board, even if it kind of mismatches the demon archetype that it might be in a lot of the time. Uh, Yep. And next we have Open Grave. This is an Earth site. It's ordinary, and it has Genesis. You may pay 1 to summon a skeleton token here. So we saw this exact same site in Air, and now we have it in Earth. So kind of interesting. I really, really like that Earth and Air are both undead and like pretty well supported. This is just gonna be great in any deck, but specifically in the undead deck, it's gonna be amazing. So it's probably like a C plus. Like a free minion is a free minion. So Pith Imp is 2 mana, 1 air threshold for a 1 power ordinary demon. It has Airborne, and Genesis steals a random spell from your opponent's hand until it leaves the realm. So a lot of people have been excited about this card. I'm not really excited about it. It's 2 mana for 1 power. That sucks. It has Airborne. Okay, whatever. And then it has steal a random spell from your opponent's hand until it leaves the realm. People kind of speculated on like if there's some way to give this spellcaster, then maybe you can cast the spell. Um, but that's not happening in limited. Like, there's no way. So, I mean, that would be sweet. If we get that synergy in limited, I will be super stoked about Pith Imp. But in most instances, like assuming that this works how you expect it to, it's 2 mana, 1 power airborne. I steal your card until you kill this. But then what are you doing with this? You're just tucking this in the corner so that they can't ever kill it with their deserts or their flare. Okay, that's fine, but you just spent 2 mana and a card to get a random card out of their hand. They didn't have to spend mana, so you're down 2 mana. You're both down a card. I mean, this is probably the worst card in your deck, so I guess maybe you're trading your worst card for one of their average cards, and maybe you're kind of happy with that. But at some point, if they can just randomly deal 1 damage to this and kill it and they get their card back, you're just down a card. And if you're not trying to protect this and you're just like, okay, they're not playing fire, I don't have to worry about deserts and flare. I can just play this kind of in the front row. I steal their card and I'm just going to attack their site for 1 every turn. Like, okay, sure, this might deal like 1 or 2 damage before it gets dealt with. And then again, they get their card back. So, like, yeah, I just don't like this at all. Yeah, and it's until it leaves the realm. So I was kind of thinking for a second, like maybe if you banish the imp, but that doesn't work either. Yeah, I think Pith Imp is just bad, honestly. I guess maybe it's like, yeah, I'll give it like a D plus. As in, like, if I really don't have anything else to play, like, I would just play a 2 mana, 2 power, do nothing minion over this, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it's a C minus, but it's definitely not high in my pick order. It's also an air demon, which I guess might actually be fine because I feel like fire air is gonna be like the demon deck most likely. At least like the most aggressive version of the demon deck. But yeah, this body just doesn't do anything. I wish that this was 3 mana, 2 power, and with the same abilities, then I'd be really into it, honestly. But the 1 power just means it's just gonna die and you're gonna be down a card. Next, we have Ravenous Werewolf. This is 5 mana, 1 fire threshold for a 3 power ordinary monster. It has charge and movement +1. So you're just gonna play it and kill a 2 power minion and be kind of happy with it. I mean, that means this is 5 mana, 3 power, like Genesis, like a Violent trigger almost. I don't know. That's fine. I mean, it's a 3 power minion. We love those. I'm just kind of worried that like the demon deck isn't really going to want too many 5 drops. And I don't know if this is good enough to really fill that role. But maybe in like water fire monsters, this is a monster, so that's kind of cool. I could see this being a good role player there. I just don't know if like the aggro decks are really gonna want 5 mana, 3 power charge. It's probably still good. Like 4 mana, 3 power charge is great. So this can't be that bad. So I'll give it a B minus for now. And Yeah, it probably won't change too much. Like it can't be worse than a B minus, I think. Redmane Hyena is 2 mana, 1 fire threshold for a 2 power exceptional beast. Genesis, banish up to 3 cards from cemeteries. If any are demons, this becomes 1 and gains +2 power permanently. So this becomes a demon and is now a 4 power demon. This card's just kind of busted. Like 2 mana, 2 power on turn 2 is going to be fine if you have nothing else to play. Maybe you just run this out, but honestly, I kind of want to just hold this in hand until there's a demon in the cemetery. Like it can banish your own demon, and this is in fire, which is the demon element. So you're probably going to be able to trigger this. It says from cemetery, so you can banish like the one demon from your cemetery, 2 random spells from your opponent's cemetery, which might matter. Yeah, I love this card. I mean, it's like a B. Just basically just don't play it early unless you really need to, which honestly might make this more of like a fire water card, like the monster kind of really wanting to slow down the game and win through card advantage or just through like huge minions at some point kind of thing. But also in the demon deck, I mean, this is just going to be at some point you get to double spell and you play like a 3 mana 3 power thing and a two mana 4 power thing on turn 5. Like that's just going to be kind of insane. So yeah, absolutely incredible card. I give it a B. Next is Regurgitator. This is 5 mana 4 power elite monster, 2 water threshold. So water and monster. That's great. At the end of your turn, Regurgitator must either fill its empty belly by banishing a dead minion, or empty its full belly by shooting a projectile that deals damage equal to the eaten minion's power. I love this card so much. So 5 mana 4 power is fine. That's usually like a C plus. And this has such massive upside. Like it's at the end of your turn, so at the very minimum you get 5 mana 4 power plus you banish a card. Okay. But if you ever get back to your turn and this is still alive, like you get to move it and then shoot a projectile and deal a bunch of damage. Like it's just gonna deal like 2 or 3 damage most of the time. Like that's just pretty sick. And it is every other turn for sure. It's you play this, you have to banish a dead minion if there is one, and then if you get to the end of the turn and he has a banished minion, he has to shoot it. You can't just eat multiple times. Like I think you have to ping pong back and forth. Every other turn it's going to shoot a projectile. This card just seems great. Yeah, I'm gonna give this a B as well, and I'm just gonna be happy to play it in basically any deck that can cast it, I think. All right, Returned King. This is a good one. This is 6 mana, 2 Earth Threshold for a 3 power unique undead. Other undead have +1 power, and you control all undead. So, as we've seen, most of the spoilers, like so many of them are undead. Undead seems like the most pushed minion type. So if you're like, I don't care if you have any undead in your deck. Basically, I think you should just jam this. And Earth is one of the undead elements. Um, so obviously it's at its best in Earth Air, where you're pumping a bunch of your own stuff. But you should just play this in every deck. Like this is just nuts. I'm gonna give this an A plus. Like if you play this and they don't kill it, I'm pretty sure you just win. Like is that good? Like even if I'm in Earth Fire or something, like you're just gonna be playing against decks that I think on average, like outside of the Earth Air deck, I think the average deck is gonna have like 4 or 5 undead probably. Even like Water Fire, I think is gonna have like 3 undead or so in their deck, and even just stealing one minion is gonna be crazy. If you're playing against Earth Air with this, you're just gonna win the game basically on the spot. Like there's just no beating this card if it survives, or even the turn that it comes in, you can attack with stuff. You can attack with your opponent's stuff if it's untapped. Like, yeah, this card just seems completely out of this world and limited. So I'm gonna give it an A plus, and we'll see how it goes. I know that the like Undead Knight technically is like 2 mana cheaper and does the same thing, but like so many of your opponents are gonna be playing Undead. It is so much better than the Undead Knight. All right, River of Blood is a fire site. That's exceptional. All healing is halved, rounded down. I don't think we've seen a single piece of healing, so we'll see about this, but I guess I'll give it a D plus for now. I'm sure there will be some healing, but it's probably not going to be very relevant in almost any game, but we'll see. Next is Road to Perdition. This is an exceptional site. It's fire. It has Genesis. Target nearby evil gains or loses 1 power this turn. So this goes in the demon archetype. You want to pump up your demons and kill your opponent's things, or just deal a little bit extra damage. But honestly, just any deck is gonna love this. There's gonna be so much evil. Gaining or losing a power is pretty huge. It's nearby, so it's kind of like a weird desert that requires a minion. But yeah, I love this card a lot. I'm gonna give this a C plus. You're just gonna play it, and I think deserts are a little bit better than this. All right, and then we have Searing Truth. This is 3 mana, 2 power threshold, and exceptional magic. Target player draws and reveals 2 spells, then takes damage equal to the higher mana cost. It's double fire, so you're playing demons. You're definitely in the deck. You're not splashing this. Demons already deal damage to you when you play them. Now you're taking damage to draw cards. The demon deck looks really aggressive, so I don't know how much it wants card draw. Obviously, the cool thing that you can do with this is kill your opponent when they're on death's door. So that's super aggro. If you're putting your opponent on death's door by Searing Truth them, I don't love that. Like, you're giving them 2 cards and putting them on death's door. I mean, obviously, if you have like another Searing Truth or something to finish the game, or some other way that's like pretty much guaranteed you're gonna get the death blow next turn, then sure, you can do that. But giving your opponent 2 cards, if you're not sure that you can kill them next turn, you just can't do that. So yeah, you don't really want to be playing this on turn 3 if you're the aggro deck. Yeah, I mean, I think there's gonna be aggro decks in the format, so then every other deck doesn't really want this either. Like, they can't really just take a turn off from defending themselves to lose life and draw cards. I mean, this is gonna deal like 3 or 4 damage to you most of the time. So I actually don't love this card for limited, but honestly, my gut is telling me that this is still gonna be a pretty important card to the format. So kind of weird. I think I'm gonna give this like a B minus still, but I don't think it's as busted as people think it is. I think people are just gonna lose sometimes when they cast it, and sure, it'll end some games, but yeah, we'll see about it. I don't know. I'm not really sure which direction this is going to be pointed most often, but I think normally, like, I would say I want to be pointing this at myself. Like, I want to be drawing cards, and giving cards to your opponent is so painful. So yeah, it's gonna be a weird one. This card might just be bad. I would not be surprised at all if this card sucks in limited. So I'll give it a B minus, but it might end up at like a D plus or something by the end of the format. I wouldn't be surprised. Shackled Demon is 4 mana, 1 fire threshold for a 5 power elite demon. It's disabled until an adjacent spellcaster taps to release him. So hopefully you have another spellcaster. That would be the ideal situation where you can tap your novice necromancer or whatever to unlock your shackled demon. But most of the time you have to tap your avatar. So you just play this right in front of your avatar on turn 4, and then on turn 5 you tap your avatar to unshackle the demon, wake it up, and then you can start smashing with it. That's not that bad. Presumably the demon deck wants to have a really low curve anyway, so it can give up the little bit of tempo and maybe not get to its 5th site quite as fast. This is a lot you have to give up though. So in a super low curve aggro deck that's like fire air demons, I think this card's gonna be fantastic. And outside of that, it might still be perfectly fine. I mean, sometimes you might actually just have another spellcaster, and then this card's just kind of amazing. So I think on average, I'm gonna give this like a B. I think it's pretty solid. Next is Silent Hills. This is an ordinary site in Earth. It has Genesis. Until your next turn, minions are silenced while atop nearby sites. What are we silencing with this? I feel like it's gonna be kind of a rules nightmare. The thing in the ice is a card that I think is in this list. It's the 3 mana 6 power unique that enters and has a genesis that it's disabled for 3 turns. So this can, I guess, turn that off. I mean, that's a pretty niche combo, but this is ordinary, so maybe you can actually pull that off. Outside of that, I don't know. Like, I guess the Earth Fire deck could then turn off some of the Genesis abilities that they don't like the dealing damage to yourself kind of thing. That's kind of cool. Yeah, there's gonna be some use cases for this, and it's gonna be kind of cool. Two minions are silencable at top nearby sites. Okay, I was checking to see if it like kills burrowed minions or something. That would be really sweet. But anyway, I'll give this a C minus. I'm not that excited about it, but I'm I haven't looked at every card. I'm sure there's things that will emerge that are really good with Silent Hills, or like Silent Hills is really good against specific cards. Yeah, I'll give it a C. I'll give it a C. I think it'll be playable. There's gonna be some weird combos with it that come up a decent amount of the time, and you're just gonna be happy to play this. And really, by C, I just mean like the pick order is about a C. Like, obviously, I'm just gonna play this anytime, but um, yeah, just most of the time I want like good spells I will take over a C, but if I have like a bad card or this, then sure, I'll take a Silent Hills. Okay, Skeleton Mage is 2 mana, 2 air threshold for a 1 power exceptional undead. Spellcaster. Genesis may cast an ordinary magic from a cemetery, banishing it afterwards. So it sees yours and your opponent's cemeteries, and you get an ordinary magic. So every deck plays at least like 2 or 3 ordinary magics. So you're just going to want to wait around until you have a target for this. Eventually you will, and you're just going to get like a little bit of value. Like, you don't get that much value out of this, honestly. Like, it's still a 1 power minion. I guess it's cool that if you have like a projectile spell or something, you can kind of play this where it makes the most sense to shoot the projectile from, kind of thing. But that's like a little bit upside. I still like it a lot. I'm gonna give it a C plus. Like, flashing back some random removal spell that your opponent played on you, that's pretty sweet. And sometimes it'll just be like a unique magic or something. Oh, I guess it can only hit ordinaries, but still, like, you're gonna get some value out of some ordinary magic. Like, you'll at least get like a 1.5 for 1.25 for 1 or something. And those are the things that can actually win the game over time when you get enough like little 1.5 for 1s or 2 for 1s. So yeah, I give it a C plus. I'm gonna play it. I'm not gonna take it like super high, but happy to have that in my deck, I think. Slimy Mutants is 5 mana, 2 water threshold for a 4 power ordinary monster. Submerge and 3 mana. Transform an ally with Submerge into Slimy Mutants from your hand. 5 mana, 4 power. Like I said, that's like a playable card. That's like a C, C plus. I mean, this is double threshold, so maybe it's like a C. But 4 power minions are very good. This one has Submerge, slight upside, and then yeah, you can transform an ally with Submerge into this. You don't really want to be transforming like a 2 or 3 power minion into this. Like, you're not really getting much out of that. I mean, I guess if you're like doing that and then killing something immediately with it, then maybe you're kind of happy with it, but then you're like 2 for 1ing yourself to then kill their thing. So then you're kind of like 1 for 1. You're kind of even, but maybe you got some tempo kind of thing. So that is one option, I guess. But the real thing that you want to do is transform your frog into this. So yeah, obviously this is like the scariest frog I've ever seen. Super cool. It can give your like a 0 power frog just turns into a 4 power beater with charge, basically, because it's transform. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think this is still a little bit niche. Like, we haven't actually seen that many frogs. Like, I think it's just Gift of the Frog so far. But if there are more frogs, then this is going to be pretty sweet. Yeah, it's probably just frogs, basically. But even if you don't have any, you might still play this and be perfectly okay with it. So I'll give it like a C plus. If you've got a bunch of frogs, then this is like a B. This card's gonna be amazing, and you don't even need 2 water threshold to transform it. Okay, Sold Out Cemetery is an air site. It's elite. Whenever undead enter this site, push another undead here away 1 step. This card is great in any deck. honestly. Your opponent's undead trigger this. So if they attack with a skeleton and then they attack with another skeleton, then you push their other skeleton wherever you want. That's pretty sweet. And it's not limited to like once per turn either. And then obviously if you're like the Necromancer or something, I mean, that's really niche to get Necromancer and Sold Out Cemetery, but if you're just playing undead on top of your other undead and then getting a free movement out of it, so then your undead can like attack something it wasn't in range of before, like they should see that coming, but they might not be like 100% sure, like, does he have this second undead to push his thing to be able to kill my other thing? So this is kind of a dangerous card. Like, I actually like it quite a bit. I will play this even if I don't have any undead in my deck, because I can just move their undead where I want them to end up. That's pretty cool. I feel like this won't trigger all that often from your opponent, but yeah, when you have undead, this really gets turned on. So I'll give it like a C plus. I'm not gonna talk it up like that much, but free movement on a site is really strong. And yeah, I think undead, some of the movement stuff is gonna really be good. So yeah, I'll just leave it there. Sphinx Sarcophagus is an elite site. It has no threshold. Genesis banished 2 identical spells from cemeteries to draw a spell. No, that never really happens. This is a site without threshold. You can't really do that. You can't even banish spells if there aren't duplicates. Yeah, you have to target 2 identical spells. Yeah, this is just an F. Just don't play this card. Stygian Archers is 3 mana, 2 air threshold for a 3 power exceptional undead with ranged. Whenever it kills an enemy, summon a skeleton token where it died. So 3 mana, 3 power ranged. That's a good card. And then when it kills something, you get a skeleton. That's pretty sick. So I'll give this a B minus. Yeah, I don't think it's like the best 3-drop ever or anything, but it will trigger sometimes. And if you have cool movement stuff, it's undead. Yeah, just a lot going on with this card. It is undead and makes undead. So yeah, you definitely want that in your undead decks. What do you know? 10-ton slug, 7 mana, 7 power, 2 water threshold. That's it. It's an ordinary monster. I think you might just really want this card in limited. 7 mana is a lot. 8 mana is the threshold where like you really can't play 8 mana things. 7 mana things come down still pretty late in the game. If there's some way to ramp into this, that would be cool. But we haven't really seen too much ramp in Sorcery so far. Like maybe there's some free site draw, like the Land Surveyor Kettletop Leprechaun kind of thing, and this will be like an Earth Water card. But I bet in the average water deck, you might be okay with just playing some of these. Like you just want to get into the late game and play a bunch of big things is my theory about monsters. So I'll give this like a B minus, and this is kind of your ordinary enabler for Monstromorphosis. Not that I'm really high on that card still, but I think that's the thing that people are going to be putting into play with Monstromorphosis most of the time. All right, and then we have the Base of Babel. This is an exceptional site. It has Earth Threshold. You may build the Tower of Babel by playing the Apex of Babel atop it. So pretty funny. I've had a really hard time actually finding the sample card that this was about. So everyone knows that. It's like, oh yeah, this is from like pre-alpha. They had these sample cards, and this was like a painting that Dan Seagrave did that they cut into 2 cards, and then they made this cool synergy where if you put them on top of each other, then it makes a bunch of extra mana. So that's the thing that it actually does. So and it was really hard to actually find this. Like I had to go through, like I went on the Collector Art House website, I couldn't find it anywhere. I went on their Discord and then like searched Base of Babel or something, and it actually came up. So hopefully people just find this video and they actually see this card, because it's such a pain to actually find this on the internet. The Base of Babel, this is the pre-alpha playtest card. This is not the card that's in Gothic. They changed the text on the card, but I just wanted to show this because maybe they kept the abilities somewhat similar. It used to be unique. Now it's exceptional. It used to have no threshold. And it said, if you have the Apex of Babel placed directly above, the base gives 2 mana instead of 1. And then the Apex of Babel is also unique with no threshold and says the same thing. It makes 2 mana instead of 1. So if they're connected, they make 4 mana for 2 sites. I think at one point it also, one of them said 3 and the other said 2, so it made 5 mana before. Anyway, this is what we actually have right now. So we have no idea what actually happens when you put the top on the base. But if it makes 4 mana, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's really weird that this is exceptional. I feel like that's kind of a weird flavor thing. Like, are there multiple Towers of Babel? I don't think so. I don't know. I guess I'll give this like an F. If it really does make 4 mana and they're both exceptional, then maybe it's like a D. Um, like you're just not gonna get them on top of each other very often. I don't know. It's just not gonna happen very often. It would be really cool to have 2 Earth sites that make a bunch of mana. That would be unique, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's a weird limited thing, and also we don't even know what the card does. All right, Thing in the Ice. This is 3 mana, 2 water threshold for a 6-power unique monster. Genesis. Disabled for 3 of your turns, can't be targeted or damaged by magic until the ice melts. It can't be damaged by magic. Is it can't be targeted or damaged by magic? Or is it can't be targeted or damaged by magic? Because that makes a really big difference. I actually don't know the answer to that. If it can't be targeted, that means that it can't be attacked. And that's pretty cool. But if your opponent can just attack this, I mean, they probably still can't kill it. Like 6 power is a lot. And even if they do, it's at least 3 mana gain 6 or more life, which is bad, but it's, a thing, I guess. Yeah, like I said, this is like a combo with the Silent Hill Earth Sight that turns off the Genesis ability, so you can just have a 3 mana 6 power minion. But also, like, all right, just play this on turn 3. It's 3 of your turns, so the turn you play it, and then turn 4, turn 5, and then turn 6, you can start attacking with this. That's not bad. I mean, really, on turn 6, you're going to have like 5 mana in play, and having a 6 power thing, and then having 5 mana to play like another 4 or 5 power thing. I mean, that's just a ton of power. So if you can find a window to play this and survive, then it's going to be a complete beating. But that's if you play it on turn 3. So if you're playing this on turn like 5 or 6, then you're just going to be dead before this thing ever thaws out. So it's kind of tough. On turn 3, I think this is like a B to A level card. And if you have like the combos with it, then yeah, this is insane. But in like pretty much any other circumstance, like if you're like if you top deck this, like it just does nothing for multiple turns. Yeah, unfortunately, I think this might actually just be bad. I think in Earth Water, if I have Silent Hills, I'll try it. I mean, honestly, if I draft this or I open it in a sealed pool, I might just try it because sometimes it will just be that like B or A level power level, but it might just be like an F, like it just doesn't do anything and you just die. Like this does not stabilize you against the demon aggro deck, and I'm assuming like that's the biggest threat I see to the monster deck right now. So yeah, I guess my intuition now that I'm talking about it more is to give it like a C, because it's, I don't know, yeah, maybe like a C plus or a B minus, because it's just such huge upside if you can play this on turn 3 or 4. I don't know. Yeah, the speed of the format has a lot to do with this. So if it's really grindy and slow, this is gonna be great. But if it's just like demon aggro all the time, then this is gonna suck. All right, I'll move on. Those Who Linger. This is 6 mana, 4 power, 2 air threshold, exceptional undead. It has Deathrite to summon a ghoul from your collection to this site. It has Deathrite summon a skeleton token to this site. This card's amazing. I love this. I can't believe that this is undead, honestly. This seems like an elite to me. So obviously 6 mana is a lot for a 4 power minion, but like it's not just a 4 power minion. It's a 4 power minion and a 3 power minion and a 1 power minion. Like, all right. And then the other cool thing with this is that if you bury this alive, you summon a ghoul from your collection to this site, not to where it died. So if this gets buried, you actually get the ghoul. Like you summon it to the top of the site, no matter what. So that is awesome. Like I love that so much. And then the Deathrite on the ghoul is the same way. It summons to the site. So yeah, you're just getting the bodies no matter what. Yeah, I love this card. I'm gonna give this a B plus. I think this is gonna be one of the like really standout exceptional cards in Gothic for limited play. The only way that this is bad is if the speed of the format is just like blisteringly fast, and I don't know. This is just such a good way to stabilize against that strategy. So I like it a lot. I really hope that this is the amazing card that I think it is, because then the format's going to be really grindy and awesome. Undead Ambush is 3 mana, 1 air threshold for an exceptional magic. Summon a skeleton token to each other site adjacent to target enemy. Each site adjacent and its other site. So if you target an enemy that just has sites all over it, you get 4 skeletons. I think a lot of the time you're probably going to get 3 skeletons and you'll be okay with it. I think if you're only getting 2 skeletons, you just don't play this card. You just wait. You can target their avatar. You probably get 3. Yeah, this probably makes like 3.5 skeletons on average, and that's pretty good. I mean, skeletons aren't like amazing, but in the undead deck, I'm pretending like every undead deck has an undead knight or 2 in it, and that's just not really realistic. So a lot of the time this will just be like 3 mana for 3 power of like kind of bad minions. But in like the aggro undead deck, I think this is going to be really good. I guess even in like the fire air demon deck that I keep bringing up, I think that this is going to be a really good card. Like it's just going to be hard to block 3 or 4 minions that you weren't expecting, or like trying to deal with them all at the same time. So yeah, this might be a good aggro card. Yeah, it's not defensive at all. They can just choose to attack the site that they're already on, basically. But yeah, I like it. I'll give it a C. I'm not like super high on it, but in some specific decks it'll be quite good. All right, next is Undesirables. This is 6 mana, 1 Earth Threshold for a 5 power ordinary demon. Burrowing. Allies can't enter this site. So you kind of just picture them all on their own. No allies can be in the same site as them. But that is not actually what the card says. It says that they can't enter the site. So you can actually have them enter sites with allies, which means that this can block for your other minions. So like say you have a skeleton token, you can play this on top of your skeleton token, and then now your skeleton token can block for the undesirables. So that's kind of cool. And then on the following turn, you could even like move your skeleton forward and then move the undesirables on top of your skeleton, because this is entering the site of the ally. It's not the ally entering its site. So that's an important distinction. And then it has burrowing, so it can't be buried alive. So I don't know. I think this card's okay. Obviously, like it is a significant downside. Like it's hard for your other allies to block for this thing, but how often are they going to have a 6 or 7 power minion that actually just attacks this and kills it? Not that often. But I'm not going to pretend that it's not downside. So yeah, I think it's still like a C. I think it's playable, but it's not great. Yeah, it kind of depends on like what you want for your curve. Like you can't just be slamming a bunch of 6 mana things. I mean, depends on the format, but anyway, yeah, it's okay. I don't hate it as much as I think most people probably do. Virgin and Prayer. This is 2 mana, 1 Earth Threshold for a 1 power ordinary mortal. It has Genesis, Ward, and allied minion. So it can ward itself. Not that you really want to be doing that. But this is cool because it can make a ward appear anywhere. It doesn't have to be nearby or anything. And it'll act as like a combat trick. So kind of like a pseudo lance that can go on any minion. So then if you look at it that way, I mean the squires in Arthurian Legends were 3 mana, 1 power with a lance. And this can like throw the lance to your ally and then have them like 3 mana 3 power thing attacks the 3 power thing, and your thing just survives. That's pretty sweet when that happens. Or you can just be like, oh, I have, this 5 power minion. I'm just going to ward it, because how are you going to deal with a 5 power minion with a ward on it? Like, that's pretty hard to do. So undesirables with a ward, like, yeah. How do you really remove that profitably? Like, you have to attack a skeleton in it and then attack some huge minion into it. Like, that's just really hard to do. It's just asking for an additional answer to your problem. So even though this is a 2 mana 1 power minion, I think this is going to be quite good. I'm going to give it a C plus. and I'm pretty excited to try out Ward. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this round of Gothic spoilers. I'm super excited about how this set is coming together. It looks really sweet. It looks like we have real build-arounds. We have actual archetypes. Hopefully, there's like archetypes within element pairings, like the Earth Air aggro undead deck, or the Earth Air, mid range undead deck. And then there's, I think, like the demon aggro stuff, the monster kind of control stuff, and then this like really interesting wrinkle of like Earth Ward that is just like, we've never played with Ward before. We don't really know how it's going to be. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to draft this as soon as it's out on Tabletop Simulator, which hopefully will be shortly after the December 5th release date. But you don't have to wait until then to draft. So if you want to draft the current sets, you can still do that. And we'll be drafting a lot more once Gothic comes out. We do that on the US side, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at the Sorcerers at the Core Discord. Please go in the description of the video and click the link to join that Discord. I'll also try to remember to comment below and pin the comment so you can easily find that link. We also draft 8:30 p.m. European time on Tuesday evenings. So if you're not in the US, you can maybe join the European draft. If you're in the US, those European drafts are like in the middle of the afternoon on Tuesday. So maybe you can even catch a Tuesday draft and a Wednesday draft if you're really lucky. Please drop a like in this video if you like the breakdown that I did. I'm going to be doing a lot more limited content. Me and Nick will hopefully be reviewing every single card together and giving them all letter grades and really breaking down the format once we have some time to process what's really going on here. And yeah, I'm really excited for Cube. There's a bunch of great cards that I'm excited to put in my cube, and there's a bunch of junk in my cube that I would love to get rid of. And maybe the cube will actually grow beyond the 360 cards that it is currently. We'll see. All right, leave a comment about whatever cards you think that I'm messing up. I'd love to hear everyone's opinions, and your opinions help me correct my opinion if my thinking is wrong about something, if some of the rules text that I read wasn't quite right. And then also subscribe so that you catch all the great content that me and Neek are going to be doing together. And I'm going to be doing more gameplay content. Definitely, I'll be recording like my first drafts of Gothic and probably putting those out on YouTube. So check out those when it comes time. All right, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.